Are you considering buying land in Idaho? Whether you are looking to build your dream home, start a farm, just get off the grid, or invest in property, Idaho has a lot of options and opportunities for hopeful land buyers. With real estate and housing costs high across the state, many people are understandably looking for more affordable options. We are frequently contacted by people who are eyeballing Idaho and are thinking about buying land and living off the grid. But well, not all off-the-grid properties are created equal, and today we are going to go over all the possible issues that certain kinds of land and off-the-grid properties can bring about. And we will also highlight some that you should just absolutely avoid. So stick around as we uncover 8 key mistakes people make, as well as 8 big questions you need to ask yourself before making that big purchase. So let's get started. Mistake number 1, ignoring zoning laws. Idaho's zoning laws can vary significantly from one county to another, and ignoring these regulations can lead to major headaches as well as mounting financial issues, which can then turn into heartache. So always be sure to check with local authorities to ensure that the land can be used for your intended purpose. With zoning laws, you might be thinking, heck, I'm buying 10 acres up in the mountains near, I don't know, let's just say Garden Valley or Roby Creek. And you think, the price is higher, a bit higher than I wanted to go, but you know what? I'm going to offset some of those costs and build a storage unit that I can rent out to make some cash. It's all going to be great. And well, depending on zoning laws, that just straight out might be a no-go. Thankfully, across Idaho, digging into zoning laws typically isn't that complicated. So do your due diligence beforehand just so you know exactly what you're getting. Mistake number 2, overlooking water rights. Water rights are a big deal here in Idaho, especially for agricultural and rural properties. So if you found what you think is the perfect slice of land here in Idaho, be sure that it has legal access to water, or you might end up with a dry piece of land that's virtually useless. Here in Idaho, we follow the first in time, first in right water law. Understanding existing water rights, their priority and availability is essential, and that's really true for both agricultural and residential land purposes. Mistake number 3, failing to conduct a soil test, because not all land and soil here in Idaho is created equal, and yep, it's not all suitable for building and farming. Conducting a soil test, which is actually deemed a perk test, which is short for percolation test, can reveal some hidden issues like poor drainage and contamination, which could ultimately completely derail your plans and or bring about some costly remediation fees. But typically, if the soil isn't good and won't fit your intended purposes and needs, well, it's just not going to be the land for you. And it is so much better to have your hopes dashed, hard as it is to hear that, but have them dashed straight out of the gate opposed to a month after closing, right?
I suppose so.
Mistake number 4, skipping the survey. A professional land survey will confirm the property boundaries and reveal any encroachments or easements. Skipping this step can lead to disputes with neighbors and even legal battles. And even for those of you out there that have no interest in being buddies with your neighbors, because heck, you are purchasing land to get away from people, but well, if you get in a battle with your neighbor, you're gonna have to deal with them a lot more than you'd likely prefer. In general, the more due diligence put in earlier on, the fewer headaches and upsets you'll experience down the road. And even if there is an existing survey that you can access, really getting your own is always advisable. They can range anywhere from about 600 to 3,000 plus. But well, here in Idaho, back in the early days, they used somewhat of an odd and now very often difficult to read and interpret survey system called topographic surveying. This system basically involved providing guesstimated distances from trees and bushes and sometimes even rocks, yes rocks, from each other. Safe to say that there can be a lot of gray area because, yep, trees fall down and are cut down, and of course land can shift, and well, that gray area can turn into a huge headache for you incredibly quickly. So let's avoid that by getting your own survey. Mistake number 5, ignoring accessibility issues. Some land and property here in Idaho might look just absolutely perfect in the photos, but well, in actuality, it might be very difficult to access, especially say come winter time. So be sure you not only visit the property and walk the property line, but that you also fully understand its accessibility across all 4 seasons. Because yep, we experience all 4 of them. And well, if you're not going to have reliable year-round access and maintain roads, that's something you will definitely want to know about and really think through prior to putting in that offer. And certainly prior to the first snowfall. Mistake number 6, skipping the appraisal. For whatever reason, many hopeful land buyers come to us as cash buyers. And as cash buyers, i.e. they don't need financing, they assume that they will not need an appraisal. And they think, sweet, I can save a little bit of money here. And well, technically they are completely within their legal rights. They don't have to get an appraisal. But getting that appraisal is highly advisable for multiple reasons. Not only will an appraisal help to ensure you are buying something that is worth the price you are willing to offer, but if that appraisal comes back lower, it will obviously give you more negotiation power. And with land, especially land without pre-existing inhabitable structures on it, having an appraisal based purely on the land itself to negotiate back and forth on can oftentimes get you a better deal at the end of the day. Mistake number 7, failing to walk and rewalk the property. During COVID, we saw a truly astounding wave of people relocate here to buy land, and many of whom did so sight unseen. And while property might appear one way on a plot map or in the simply gorgeous, listing photos that you saw online or on Google Earth, but when you're there walking it, you might just discover an encroachment or issue that you didn't know about, and how could you have? And then if such an issue comes up and exists, well, you could either be walking into a possible heated exchange with your new neighbors or even a lawsuit, and who really wants to deal with that? My husband Andy is incredible at helping our clients scope out and fully understand the ins and outs of the land that they are considering buying. He has a side hustle of sorts, all his, free time and as a side hustle that he doesn't actually get paid for, but I digress. He loves my mother, and that's why he helps her manage her 1,000-acre property in Eastern Oregon. And not only does he do a great job helping my mom, but he just fully understands water rights and easements and all of that jazz. He notices just about 99% of, I would estimate obviously, 99% of things that many other agents wouldn't even know to call out or question. Mistake number 8, failing to get title insurance. And this is another one that sometimes surprises and irks potential land buyers, but well, it's important. Get title insurance. I can promise you it is not a waste of money or a scam. What it is a great way to cover you and the property because, well, you chances are do not know the previous landowners and they could have a lien out against them, or they could have substantial back taxes or some other kind of encumbrance that you do not want to have to be liable for or to deal with. So by paying for that title insurance, you are essentially hiring a lawyer to come and dig up the deed and read through all the legalese to ensure that there isn't anything that you should know about prior to buying the land. That's, something that's just lurking there, blemishing the title, because yep, you want to know anything that's marking up that title beforehand. And now, before you rush into buying land, here are 8 big questions you need to ask yourself to avoid any pitfalls. Question number 1. Is the land located in an area with a homeowners association, i.e. an HOA? Many people considering buying land assume that there will not be any HOAs involved with land purchases. Sometimes when you are looking maybe for a vacation home or just bare land like up in the foothills, there can be HOAs associated just with the land parcel alone. Not always, but sometimes they have HOAs, and well, for most people who are looking to buy land, the thought of having an HOA isn't exactly what they are initially envisioning. That all said, if you flip out over a piece of land and then we discover that it is positioned in a place with an HOA, please keep in mind that chances are the other landowners and or homeowners, if they have already built on it, they are likely on similar properties and thus very likely have a similar take and stance on HOAs. And while HOAs are really only as powerful, or to some, let's just say annoying and overbearing, as who's on the board, right? And then on this same note, but I will keep this one grouped under this question as they are often but not always tied together, are there CC&Rs? If there is an HOA, there will be CC&Rs, but you can have land with CC&Rs without an HOA. So if there are CC&Rs, so community covenants, rules, and restrictions, you are going to want to read all through them and wrap your head around everything beforehand. Because, I don't know, let's just say that there isn't anything in the CC&Rs about having dairy cows or pigs. And well, while you have literally zero interest in having cows or pigs, well, your neighbor or neighbors could just decide that the dairy or pig farm route is where it's at. And well, guess what? if there isn't anything that prohibits that in the CC&Rs or with zoning, they could do what they want. And let me tell you, if you have a dairy farm or a pig farm next to your property, you're going to know about it, and I have yet to meet anyone who was thrilled to discover that they were within close proximity to either of those two things. And of course, those are just two of many, many examples of possibilities. Okay, now question number 3. What utilities are available? Make sure the land has access to essential utilities like electricity, water, and sewage. Installing these can be costly and in some cases even downright impossible. And while a lot of people like the idea of living off the grid, well, there's off the grid and then there's powerless, waterless, sewerless off the grid, with the latter version being one that not many are truly up for, or at least not the majority. But even if you are in the minority here, it's something you will absolutely want to know and be prepared for prior to putting in that offer. Okay, question number 4. Are there any structures or items on the property that will need to be removed? Sometimes people get excited about a piece of land that already has an existing structure on it, and they think, it's all good, we'll just tear it down and build our dream home or getaway cabin. And well, that might totally be an option, but it also might be more costly than you're anticipating. So you will definitely want to know about these costs beforehand and upfront. And then in addition to the demolition, labor fees, and deconstruction costs, which can again surprise people to see how they can add up, depending on the location of the land or property, please know that you will also need to get building and/or demolition permits through the city or county. Question number 5. What are the long-term development plans for the area? Research any and all planned developments or changes in the area. Future construction and zoning changes can significantly impact the value and usability of your land. Question number 6. What is your land's intended use and purpose? Clearly define what you plan to do with the land. Whether it's building a home, farming, or investing, your intended use will dictate what type of land you should be looking for. And this one might seem relatively rudimentary and simple, but well, we have seen it happen more than once. If your goal is to buy a piece of land where you can fully retreat and just escape the hustle and bustle of city life, well, deciding to buy a property that you could subdivide might sound good financially, but if you subdivide it, is that extra money and extra future neighbors, is that really going to provide you with the peace and quiet that you're after? Now, don't get me wrong, I work in real estate after all. I, of course, understand the value of investing and capitalizing on property and home sales, but I have also seen people make decisions with dollar signs in mind over what their original goal was and just intention, and down the road find themselves not that happy. So be sure you remain clear on your overall goal and vision. Question number 7. Do you really want all of that land? How much land do you really want? So often when people reach out to us saying that they want to buy land, they approach it with the more the better mentality, which is great, and it might exactly be what you're looking for. That said, well, the more land you have, the more maintenance and work it is going to, of course, require to maintain. So do yourself a favor and consider if more really, the dog's shaking over there, but if more really is better, or better yet, best for you and your overall lifestyle and goals. And last, question number 8. Are there any environmental concerns? Check for issues like flood zones, protected wildlife areas, or contamination, because let me tell you, environmental concerns can severely limit what you can do with your property. So be sure you know everything you can about the land prior to making your offer. So there you have it. Avoid these mistakes and ask the right questions, and you'll be well on your way to making a smart land purchase here in Idaho. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and hit that little subscribe button if you haven't yet, and tap that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos when we post them. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.